There, now we're.
Okay, now we're going.
I didn't even touch it.
Your magic.
Did you do that? Oh, that's, okay.
Yeah, he has a satellite, the microphone, got that.
I'm still learning.
Okay, well,
That's eight.
okay. Call the meeting to order in Sandy's absence. Doug, did you get a chance to review, and Chief, did you get a chance to review the
Yep.
Are we all good?
Yep.
Okay. Approved. Update from the chief. Any updates?
What's that?
Any updates from you?
No.
Concerns or anything like that?
No, I
Okay.
just, I think I was bragging a couple of weeks ago about how it's starting to slow down and our felony cases just picked back up, so.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
just a comment, you may have noticed that we changed how that was, the way it had been being carried
news
forward.
updates and concerns, yes.
Was like stop sign updates and blah, 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 and
Yeah,
a lot of
no,
that isn't something that's happening on a regular basis, so I just put that as updates.
right, news updates, concerns, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to call that and see if everybody was okay with that.
Perfectly okay with that. Okay, so, move on, let's try to get through this stuff. Did everyone get a chance to review Sandy's MOU for, the City of Red Lodge and Bear Chief Humane Alliance?
Yep.
Okay, Dave, did you get a chance to read through that?
I did, there was a change, did your change reflect the, there's no place in there that it refers to an agreement between the chief with the Red Lodge Police, it's always Red Lodge City, Red Lodge City,
Yeah,
correct?
City of Red Lodge authorizes Bear
So,
Chief Humane, yeah, it's
Yeah,
all
so
City of Red Lodge.
there was
City of
one
Red Lodge.
reference when we got it from Sandy, initially, which I think was the draft that they talked about last time, that still referenced, the police, and so administratively, it makes sense that the police are gonna handle that, but
Correct.
we just changed that in a reference.
Okay,
There's also an additional conversation, and again, the goal is basically to get on par with what the county does, with some limitations and restrictions, AKA, we don't have catch poles, we don't have, we don't want to be transporting dogs in all of the officer patrol cars and whatnot.
correct,
But basically, we want to be providing, it is a public safety, health and safety thing,
right,
and we do want to be providing on par with what the county does. There is an agreement that, that just got sent over, from Grizzly Peak.
okay,
This is the part that basically says we will, as a city, cover the cost for 3 days,
right,
until Beartooth Humane takes
It's over.
ownership and responsibility. So this won't be done. This is just the first step along the way.
Okay.
And so they thought there was an agreement that they had previously entered in place, and what they're working on is a verbal. And quite frankly, we will be doing the same thing.
Okay.
But we need to formalize it.
So do you want us to work on the resolution authorizing you to sign the MOU, then? or is that
With Grizzly Peak?
Yes,
We will, but like I said, I need to sit down and go
Okay.
through it first, because and I'll sit down and go through that with the
Okay.
chief, but we just got it today
okay,
for the first time. So the decision was made, we'll go ahead and proceed with this MOU, but yes, before we are done, we will need another resolution that authorizes to sign those two MOUs with,
you want to do them at the same time?
no need. So, this one's on the agenda tonight, if I recall correctly.
Is it? Okay. Okay, so, but we need a resolution for you, authorizing you to sign this.
And we don't have the so yes, we need a resolution for that. I was thinking the resolution was also done, I apologize.
No, I don't believe.
Yeah, so if everybody's happy with that, then we'll need to work,
Okay.
you're right, that's not, because we've only got 3 tonight. But
Okay.
yeah, so we'll need a resolution for that, and we will need,
By the next meeting, so that, because we'll discuss it tonight and then approve it next time.
yeah,
Okay.
there you go. And then what we'll also do is at the next meeting, here and in the night meeting, discuss the other 2 MOUs so that they can be passed the following time, unless council determines that I would say let's keep it in a discuss and then pass the next time. There's not an emergency
So-
for it to do it.
What are the other, I'm
So
sorry,
that MOU is between Beartooth Humane
right, and the City of Red Lodge, and you're gonna do one between the
We're
City of
gonna
Red
do-
Lodge and Grizzly Peak?
and hopefully one between City of Red Lodge and Beartooth
Humane Alliance.
No, that's this one,
Oh.
there's two vets over on 78, and I'm
There-
trying to remember which is which.
There's Beartooth Vet and Red Lodge Vet.
And, Bugs is Beartooth.
Beartooth.
So we're gonna do it with Beartooth is who the
Okay.
county uses. And the primary reason you use that is because they have an after-hours holding facility that officers have access to if it's needed.
Okay, perfect. So I will, Doug, unless you want to write the resolution, I can do it too.
Yeah, that'd probably be.
Okay. Don't want to panic you there. Your first one, like, here you go. Okay, so I'll work on that resolution so we have it by the next meeting. And then if you, make sure, and we'll get Dennison to review the MOU and the resolution, so it's all ready for approval. He's already
reviewed the MOU,
okay,
but we'll have him review the resolution.
perfect, okay.
So I will verify.
Make sure I
that
give
and have
myself
it.
this task.
Yeah.
Do.
Jody
Do. Okay,
creating MOU for, and if you could do that, if you could have that done by the middle of next week,
oh, okay,
Wednesday
yeah.
of next
I
week.
thought you were gonna say tomorrow.
No, if you could have that done by Wednesday of next week,
Okay,
then we'll be able to get that on the agenda before I leave you.
okay. Yeah, and get Dennison's review of it. Okay, perfect, moving on.
Is there any other questions or conversations just on kind of, or are you
Well,
gonna
do we
get
wanna
into
talk
that?
about, review animal ordinance? I think it's not just chickens, it's also all together. The dogs, we have the dog ordinances, we have a bunch, we have like ordinance 897, which addresses wild animals. We have ordinance, 904, which concerns animal control of dogs. And then, we have ordinance 924, which is just animal control, which is all domestic, including chickens and things like that. We have 3 different ordinances addressing animals,
Okay.
whether it's
And again,
dogs, wild animals, or all other domestic animals.
so the thing I do want to clarify is that the MOU in the vets is
Mm.
only for
Dogs.
dogs.
Okay,
That the vets, law enforcement, to my understanding, does not have an interest in being in with the cats, and I don't think cats are arguably the same.
no, they can be kind of vicious when they're scared.
Yeah, but I don't think they're the same public health threat as dogs are.
No, and you don't want,
So there's also nothing in the city ordinances about cats specifically. That's
Right.
one of the issues that came up with Mr. Weimer's
yes,
cat issue down the block that kind of led, or that was before all of.
it had to be declared basically a nuisance or a
Public- it was a-
public health and safety issue.
Well, it was a, so,
Public nuisance.
nuisance, a
Public
public
nuisance.
nuisance is how that got in front of the court, so.
Perfect, so I guess I'd like some guidance, go ahead, yes.
Chief?
Yeah.
Judge,
Yes,
is there a problem with it being public nuisance? And to expand the conversation a little bit further, one of the things we get a couple of complaints on is we have a couple of residences within the community that are hoarding on the outside as opposed to hoarding on the inside, and so it impacts public safety and
Yeah.
well, at the very least, it impacts ability to appreciate, from the neighbors and whatnot. And certainly there's a couple of those that I've seen where you could argue it's an attractive nuisance and a kid could go crawling around and getting in stuff and get hurt.
or.
Is that different?
bears or
Is-
things like that could be attracted to
Yeah.
the outside features.
Well, the stuff I've seen, I don't think it's not
No,
food stuff,
it's
it's
just-
lawnmowers,
it's hoarding.
washing machines, cars.
Hoarding, just,
Well, so if I may, Chair,
yes,
so the history of why I started working on the pet ordinance, I'm gonna call it a pet ordinance because this goes back 5 years now, that I started working on this and it gathered all this information from other jurisdictions, at the request of Mayor Larson. So that shows you how far back it was.
okay,
And, there were a couple members of the community that were approached to help rewrite the ordinance. They just kind of went, eh. But the issue we have there is, and I know Chief can confirm this, is that the way it's written, it's really hard to follow in points. Because I don't know how many tickets there were, dog off leash, no tags. Well, those are nonviolent offenses. How it's written now is the first offense is a written warning. If they didn't get a written warning, then, you know, there's nothing we can do, and it happens the second offense. And those are two separate offenses, dog off leash and no tags. And that, previous officers who have now moved on from the department, that's how they always write the tickets, dog off leash, no tag. That was the offense. So which one are they charging? You know, that was the question that I had. Splitting those up, and then just kind of the issues that have come up with the nuisance cats.
When it's like a feral cat colony, basically.
Exactly. There's nothing in the city codes to address those. And then addressing the puppy mill issue when Barbara Jurdy lived just a block away, and she had all her dogs, where, you know, limiting the number of animals that could be you could have to 3 or 4, and anything above that, you need to be inspected to have a kennel, essentially. So
Exactly, yeah, and,
inspected, because we don't want puppy mills in town, we don't.
no, you want safety for the animals and the people, and you don't want disease spread.
And then the other thing that I'm going through all those city codes are, having, you know, the, 2 different license fees, one for unaltered animals as
Right.
opposed to altered animals, lower, and then looking at like disabled or individuals and service animals. There's nothing in
Right.
the code about, you know, getting a license for a service animal, but if they're chasing down a dog and catch it, whose is it? You know, it's part of that licensing picture, provide a picture of the dog, so then the city has a database, can flip through, okay, this is which golden retriever is this, kind of thing, you know, and just kind of addressing those issues. And so as the years have gone by, I've added 2 things, like we have the bear issue in, what's the park, Coal Miners Park, a couple of years ago, where the city sent out a notice saying, Coal Miners Park is closed until further notice.
And everybody's like, why?
Why?
I know why.
And so adding that, you know, area closure, I think, from what I sent you, you saw that, at the discretion, or requested, like Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, the mayor may close any park or public area, for bear activity, and violating that then becomes an offense.
If you go there.
If you go there while the bear is there and it's closed for safety, that is more of a deterrent than to, penalize anybody who goes there. You know, keep people away from the area, but we need the issue is letting them know why it was closed. It was like, when I saw that pop up, like, was somebody killed there?
Yeah.
People away, you know, what was going on?
Right.
And so just that lack of information, I think, made people want to go look and see what was going on, just to be nosy, but so that's.
Watching the wet paint signs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is it really wet?
You know, and so that's where it is. And so the dog ordinance as it is pet friendly, and we want to keep it that way, because that's what the city is, but we need to look at fixing some of the.
Well, I don't think that any responsible pet owner wants puppy mills in town.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, one of the things we, as we have this discussion, one of the things we need to be careful of based on just things I'm aware of in the States and other cities. Let's keep names out of it. I'm aware of, like, when Shoto wrote a puppy mill ordinance, so I know they have one to look at, but there's some concerns as far as, wording and language we choose in that too. We just want to be careful. I think that the language that Chief used earlier, or the judge used, sorry, no offense intended. My sister was Navajo, so the language that he used earlier, was specific to, just a kennel situation or more than and a separate license. And there might be better ways to address it than using puppy mill.
Yeah, no, and I think by addressing it by, limiting the number of pets you can have before you are classified as a kennel situation.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
We're not gonna write a puppy mill ordinance. We're
No,
gonna write
no.
you need a separate license if you have more than X.
Right,
Or-
and it could be that you get, you basically, you know, then you are subject to inspections to make sure that, you know, I'm not sure how that all would
And
work,
it would
but,
be just kind of like the VRBO stuff, you know, thinking about that, where the fire comes and does an annual inspection, that might be part of the licensing process, that they have to pay, or have the vet come and do an inspection, make
or
sure.
would it be the vet or Beartooth Humane Alliance
Any-
vet?
A vet.
A vet
I
to
don't
come
think we
and-
could-
I think that's part of what we discussed.
And that's
Okay.
part of,
Yeah.
Is it a vet? Is it public safety officers? Is it?
Yeah.
That, again, that there's the first, what is appropriate, and then what is the best mechanism for us to accomplish it?
Yeah, because, I mean, there have been situations where I know, someone who had like 10 cats, and, you know, and it was a rental, and when the landlord got back the house, he had to totally gut it and redo it, you know, because she inherited, you know, cats from other relatives, and so, you know, it's things like that, but then the cats are all over the neighborhood, and, you know, so I guess definitely, I think some of that needs to be addressed, because, and if you live right next to someone who has 5 dogs, you're probably gonna be a little crabby with the barking every morning, you know, after a while, so.
and so, you know, it's, what I wrote and what I worked on is just kind of a general, here's a starting point. And then it just, you know, the other part of that is the vicious, dangerous dog aspect of it.
Yeah,
This is the only jurisdiction that I've seen that has split the two between what a vicious dog and a dangerous dog is. Everywhere else in the state code, it's one and the same.
okay,
To
so
chase,
vicious,
bite, and attack a person, animal, vehicle, you know, that's all one code, but here it's split up between people and other animals or wildlife, and, you know, so if a dog bites another dog, or a dog, it's a or dangerous animal, but if it bites a person, it's a vicious animal, and the state code says.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, it's all vicious.
And I would say that's in line with, if we could wave a magic wand, one of our great successes would be if we were all done, if our municipal code was half the size it is now.
Yeah,
Our
Well, and
planning
that's-
services were half the size they are now.
honestly, I mean, that's the tip, I mean, like, we have 3 different codes that address animals,
And that's not counting the nuisance one.
yeah, yeah,
So that's
so,
kind of what we're looking at, and then the nuisance cats became an issue, and. there's
well, people
really
didn't like
nothing-
finding dead cats in the snowbank, you know.
Yeah, and there's really nothing in the city code other than under public nuisance that the cats fall under, you know, and so part of it is removing it, saying a dog ordinance, just a domestic pet ordinance.
Right.
You know, instead of saying dog, it's dog, cat, ferret, whatever, you know, the
Yeah.
15 guinea pigs running around their yard, yeah, that might be, need to be addressed.
Yeah. Okay, yep. I guess I'd like some guidance on how do we want to proceed? I think, personally, I mean, I'd like to see everything, you know, more consolidated, so we don't have 3. But Chief, do you have some feeling on any of this?
No, I agree with you, and consolidation would be probably best.
Okay,
So that's, you've already heard my guidance.
yeah.
If it addresses everything in half the space that it does now, we've made a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna get, we could possibly get some pushback if we limit the number to like 3 or 2. You know, if you start limiting the number of pets people can have.
Yeah, there are people with multiple dogs that aren't classified as a kennel, you know, it's like they're actually their own personal dogs, and that's something that I certainly don't wanna step on.
Because
Mhm.
somebody has 2 or 3 dogs,
I got,
and then they get divorced, and their new girlfriend moves in, and she
She
has
has
3
3
dogs,
dogs,
so.
yeah,
it's a lot of dogs.
But.
it's a lot of dogs.
But is there, and that's why his approach of is there a number of hours a number of animals which beyond that, it just requires an additional permit? Now we're not stepping on it, we're just saying, you
Yeah,
have enough dogs,
Mhm.
you have to fill out an additional license, or, and maybe you do have 6 dogs, but that qualifies you as a kennel.
Yeah.
yeah,
you
just as long as we have that line between kennel and,
Or, well, that's why I was saying, we don't call it a puppy mill, because maybe
Well, they're
it's-
probably, they're all, could be neutered, and they're not, breeding
But
by any means.
There's a lot of-
if you have 6 or 8 dogs, is
Yeah.
that something that there needs to be an additional inspection or something to help protect the neighbor's rights as well?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that take a very firm stance on whether to neuter their dogs or not too. If it's a working dog, the majority of the time, they're not fixed. It's just,
Yeah.
But bulls and steers, there's reasons.
yeah, it's true, yeah.
Doug, do you have any
Well, I,
feedback?
just a lot of talk, and I'm not even sure what the question is.
Basically,
I mean, you wanna take 3 policies and put it into one?
yeah, and we wanna give it, I guess, we've had a lot of pushback from the barking dogs, we've been getting a lot of complaints, and sometimes just reviewing these ordinances as a whole, the judge has asked us to, not even this year, but like a couple years ago, when we did have, the feral cat colony, and it took over a year, or maybe 2 years to get it taken care of. It had to go through the court system, because it had to be declared a nuisance, a public health and safety issue. Whereas if we have something in our domestic animal, ordinance that actually includes cats in it as well, they might have been able to move a little quicker, I'm not sure,
So your example of barking dog, is that not covered in here?
It is right now, yes.
Okay.
It is. But, yes.
Just, I guess, a point of clarification, are we talking about taking wild animals, domestic livestock animals, and domestic pets in one ordinance?
Well, the wildlife ones, is a pretty short ordinance, and it's basically just about feeding the wildlife. There's not really that much, it just defines them, because you can't keep, house, or feed them, and I'm pretty sure monkeys are now included in this.
I just don't understand, they're three distinct
Yeah,
categories.
pets is different, I don't think we have livestock. I think
We
my
have-
understanding was,
This one right here is on livestock and not being able to have basically hoofed animals in town, and chickens and pigs and,
and that's a specific one people have asked for, and right now we say you can have chickens for educational purposes, which to me is almost a threshold to meet. I'm teaching my kids where eggs comes from,
I know.
those are educational chickens.
I know, so, they don't necessarily all have to be confined, but, keeping offensive premises for keeping livestock inclusive of chickens. Any pen, enclosure, stable, or building for horses, mules, fowls, goats, or any other animal in such a filthy or unsanitary. So it talks about how they're kept, but you can't keep them anyway, so.
Well, I think there's some that are grandfathered in, like the horses over by the school and that.
The
Clydesdales.
Are they still there?
On Fifth Street?
Are there
next
horses
to
there?
Napa,
Where,
there were, not too long ago.
I know
Okay.
there's those crows right there still, so,
That's on Second.
over behind, down below the school.
Yeah, there's a square pasture on, where's Napa, on Fifth Street? Yeah, there's a square pasture on Fifth Street where I've seen 2 or 3 horses, and we've had horses there since I've started, so that tells you how long ago it was. And then there were horses on Second Street.
But somebody else bought that now.
Yeah,
Okay, so
somebody else bought that.
I don't.
I could drive by today again.
Doesn't the ordinance say something about 5 acres or less is the
15.
limitation?
15
There's one
acres.
going up Third as well, right up at the bottom of Brews Hill before you pass. There's
Yeah.
horses right there.
Yeah, it's 15 acres.
So to Rod's point, we've got three distinct issues, and if you bring in Doug's point, are we better say, set the wildlife and the hoofed animals aside for now? The most immediate thing seems to be the pet ordinance, the fact that it's within itself redundant and has some things that are too long, but at the same time, it's missing things. And so to Doug's question, what is the question or what is the goal?
Right.
It's to have an efficient pet ordinance that addresses cats, which we don't do, that addresses some sort of what happens if you have more than X animals, which we don't do, which would address, you know,
Well, and I think we just make it so it's all, to the judge's point, that it's all domestic animals. So it's not just a dog ordinance or a cat ordinance, it's all, do you have, you know,
the ordinance should be all-inclusive, but I do
Right.
think there are things relative to dogs that we do differently because they are potential for public safety.
right. But, you know, you want your cats, you want all the cats to also have rabies vaccination, you know, so it's not just dogs, 'cause especially cats go outside, you know.
Yeah.
They're do a lot more stuff.
Yeah, than dogs are, well,
Are we gonna have cat permits then?
And that would be the question, or maybe, I don't know if we have permits, but, or we
license,
actually
yeah.
have, or licensing.
Thankfully, our feral cat population has dwindled dramatically in the last several years.
And so, you know.
They were all
Because
over the place.
If
Yeah.
staff is gonna be responsible
that's,
for tracking and making sure that cats have their rabies shots,
Mhm.
again, that's council's discretion. Are we gonna require that and look and compare to other cities and see if it's there? My input would be that if staff is going to do that, then there needs to be a license so that we can charge a small fee to pay for the cost of administrating it.
and
Yeah.
the other part would be dealing with lost pets. You know, you have somebody there's a cat that's here, we don't know whose it is. You know, everybody has a camera now in their pocket. When they do get the license, and with dogs, you know, include a picture as part of that license program, because then the city has a database can flip through, okay, whose beagle is this? There's 3 people in town that have beagles. Which one is this? You know, so they can get a hold of them, say, we have your pup here, or we've got complaints about your cat, you know, we think
Right.
it's yours anyway, just to help with the enforcement and keep happy neighbors.
That would help.
So I guess, you know, my only concern right now on the pet licensing is, I mean, a lot of people in town don't even know they're supposed to license their pets. How, you know, we need to work on an education
I
type
saw
thing.
part
and
of
get-
that discussion.
Yeah.
And that's easy enough. We can put an article, not that everybody reads the paper, but I saw that
Yeah,
thread that you shared, a couple photos of people on Facebook literally saying, dog licenses, that's a thing? We
Yeah.
have those?
I know.
And to me, I thought they were genuine in their.
Yeah, they just, people don't know. They just don't even know it's a thing.
And the other thing I'm noticing is that the way we track licenses, right now, it's not electronically. So going in and saying, hey, there's a Bernese Mountain Dog, these are the 4 people who own Bernese Mountain Dogs, we couldn't do that from our records. That's just, what do they call that? Institutional knowledge that people know
Right.
this is that dog or that, which is kind of what happens on Facebook or something. So are we saying we want to have it be stored in some sort of a searchable database so that the police can go in and say, this is I don't know if that, you know, domestic short hair is kind of a generic, you know, but there's a lot of dogs that are just mutt, so that's
Mhm.
not gonna.
And that's why the picture
The photographic,
really helps.
yeah,
Like Rooster's a mutt, but he's a very distinct
yeah.
mutt. I mean, he looks like a Great Pyrenees, but miniature, you know. That's,
So that would be like an expanding the licensing thing so that there's a picture of it that's there.
Yeah, I mean, I just,
It would also be cost effective too, in a sense, to have that wrapped up with a photograph of the dog so we can contact the owner as opposed to dropping them off at a vet.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
especially if they're licensed and you can just pull it up,
Yeah.
you'll know.
Yeah.
It
You have
has
to have a good guess, because you're not gonna, look through pictures of every dog in town, you'd say, I think this
Well,
is Rod's.
there's ways to organize it.
Yeah, and
For these mountain dogs, which you own 50% of those in Red Lodge, and.
I
You
don't,
don't?
they're
Okay.
very popular.
Yeah, I know.
But, you know, and then actually entering those, when somebody gets their license, that information into, even an Excel spreadsheet with breed and things like that, where you can sort, okay, is it a male or is it a female? Okay,
Yeah.
that's the list in half. Is it, what kind of dog is it, you know, that information, and have. that-
And their age too,
Yeah, their age.
because you can tell an old dog versus a new.
To just help that query bring it down.
I've been bit by more dogs than probably anybody you know, and there's not a single one of them I could tell you whether it was male or female, or how old it was
Or
when it
if,
was
I
gnawing
mean,
on
for
me.
like the police, if they kept or
Yeah.
find a dog, trying to figure out who the owner is a male, you know, that can definitely
Yeah.
help.
Well, and I think we approach it too, like, you know, and I know the city has in the past, like, license your dog so we can, you know, if it's out, we can contact you and get your dog back, get your pet back
We
to
can
you.
absolutely work on, we can put it on,
Yeah.
we can put it on our city webpage, we can put an ad in the paper, we can, but I think that's, once this is all cleaned up, then we do it. I mean, people will be aware of this just because it's the discussion is happening.
And posted at the post office, and I think how I wrote it, whenever, or when I was working on that, this discussion is, the public notice is this process of, in front of council. Not,
Right.
you know, the effective date is whatever, I started January first, say. But the notice, the public that says this is the dog ordinance, and then anything that, if you don't have your dog license, you know, those, whatever it is, goes into, that is their notice, is this process being in front of council. And the other part of it is to get the, real estate agent in town to let, as part of their package, you know, because they say, well, there's water and sewer and garbage, there's also a dog ordinance. You know,
Right.
you need, if you have pets, you need a.
Sandy'd be a good POC for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You, just to put it in that general packet, or if it's on the golf course, you know, they say, well, there is HOA, and this is what the amount is when you're talking with or when somebody lists it. And so it's not a shock, like the folks in our subdivision that didn't even know that there was we're part of an HOA outside of town, you know, and they were like, we didn't know when we bought it. They never said anything.
Wow.
So we have a house up for sale now, and we got a hold of the listing agent, the HOA did, and let them know that it is part of that, and there are fees, and if they have questions, to contact the board.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
getting our agents on board, because there are properties for sale, and they're not all gonna be or, you know, individuals living there. They might turn them into long-term rentals, they might turn them into short-term rentals, but just so everybody knows what's going on.
yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I can go through, I guess I don't know, what do you guys, I think taking our current ordinance then, comparing it to the changes that you've requested.
And, you know, the other thing is to split up each of those offenses. It's what,
Okay.
5B3, like, is the general offense.
Right, 5,
But have like 5B3, 4, 5, dog owners, 3. 5B4, the B,
yeah,
5B5 is that, you know, each have a distinct number instead of 5B3, A, and C, and D. And then,
so,
you know, just kind of
Make
splitting.
it easier to write and charge on, is
Yeah,
basically one of the
Right.
goals.
Is
So-
it sub A, is it sub B, which one are they charging it under? So then it does split across.
so, number one, we'll take, vicious dog and dangerous dog will basically be the same category, because that's what the state code has it
And
as. Okay. Yeah.
Blackmail photo time.
I know.
So
Yes,
I like the idea of being able to get your pet back sooner with ID,
uh-huh,
but I'm sitting here having dealt with labor issues and things my whole life. who's gonna be responsible for the database? Who's gonna build the database? Who's gonna maintain it to monitor when pets die and they're removed from the database? I mean, it's a big project, and is there even?
It is.
Has anybody ever created something like this? And which city department's volunteering to do it?
And now I'm back to licensing, because it would be front staff. We do have a specific individual who's assigned for that, but a couple more that cover. But like I said, the current workload is we have a physical record that we log it in, we have a name, and we issue a tag, and basically we validate that they have the rabies. That's, the big takeaway is this dog owner has a dog, there's a brief description, and I validated that their rabies information is current at the time of this registration.
What do we currently do now with our hard copy records when a dog does die?
They don't show up because they don't get re-registered the next year.
Yeah.
With the exception of, I know one dog that got registered this year, even though he was dead, but that was a different story.
Interesting.
It just seems like quite a bit of labor involved in
Well, there is,
trying to keep track of this, whereas
your,
social media, I watch it all the time, somebody
your
posts,
former died,
we found this dog.
Mm-hmm. Chrissy.
Chrissy, she, you know, she's working in the front, but then she also does the law enforcement assistant.
Yeah, and so that's probably the staff that will be doing it, but like I say, what we would need to do
I
is
think
make sure
it's
that our
more,
licensing fee covers that.
it's more, do we have a program that would allow us to upload a picture with the, an actual database out there that we could?
We don't have that right now, but.
Because if you have the software to do that, it's actually probably not that hard to just add a few more details, upload a picture. But I don't know that,
Does it exist?
does it exist? I'm sure it exists, it's just how much do you want to pay for it?
Well, I agree with him. We're talking about a lot of work if it's gonna be maintained efficiently, and I'm not sure the value's there. And you're talking about a picture, well, there's so many mutts around, how are you gonna identify them? The pure breeds, yeah, you can do, there's so many, like I said, the work going in to maintain this, I just don't know if the value's there.
Well, I think the license, if they're licensed, we can identify them now, because you can pull up their, they are supposed to wear the rabies tag and a little,
They're supposed to.
they're supposed to, yeah.
And the city tag is.
That's what I mean.
And in fairness, so let me ask you a question. Do we, have, if there's a dog in town, that, I know our code requires that they have a city license on them.
Mhm.
But if I'm visiting from Billings, my dog doesn't have a tag on it. So
Right.
Correct.
how do I know if here's a law that only applies to local residents?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it says in here it does.
And it has to do with the amount of time an animal is in town. So if we have our seasonal workers that stay for, I think it's, in here it says at least 30 days for animals that are over 6 months old.
Yeah.
Is what it says. So,
So if somebody's visiting, it's not over 30, so they're not gonna get fined, they just
Yeah.
don't have it.
they don't have it. And the other thing is with those tags, you can most likely can contact the issuing, jurisdiction. So if has a Billings dog license, their animal control probably has that information, and I know and that could be accessed.
But what if they're a county, you would hope that anybody would have a rabies tag on their dog. You do that as a protect your dog thing, because
Yeah.
you don't want them to get put down because somebody doesn't know, or,
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember, I don't know if the rabies tag has the vet information on it.
It does have the vet
So then,
information.
Yeah.
you can contact that vet, maybe they know who the owner is. So the vicious dog statute in MCA, the definition is found under 723/2109 sub.
2109, okay.
For purposes of this section, a vicious dog is defined as one which bites, attempts to bite any human being without provocation, or which harasses, chases, bites, or attempts to bite any other animal. The term animal includes all livestock and any domestic pets.
Okay.
So there's nothing in there about chasing, the town deer or anything like that.
I have a question, if all of
Yeah.
this exists in the state level, kind of following up on Doug's thing, what do we need to have? If something is addressed at the state level, do we need to duplicate it at the city level?
So that's the only code that refers to dogs, is that 723.
And that's just the definition?
Right.
It provides a definition of vicious animal control. I'll give you that.
But this has got a definition of vicious dog.
I have that copy.
It does, in our, but they also have vicious and versus dangerous, and he's saying combine those two because that's the way the Montana code is.
That's fine, that's easy
Yeah.
to do. You get-
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
So he's just saying use the same definition that the state code has, and we can change that.
And we could even just say, a vicious dog is defined by MCA.
We could, yep, okay. Barking, running, and howling. Oh my gosh.
So the dogs who live outside the city limits, but visit the city, require a city license.
Only if they live here for more than 30 days in the city limits.
What if they visit every day, but they don't live here?
No, they have to,
Visit.
Okay.
yeah.
Talking about you?
Yeah.
I know. Okay, license.
Hold on, I changed my mind.
I know.
I think social media has been very effective in finding dogs.
It has been, yeah,
We-
it really has
we-
been.
It's very, yeah, it's very, low maintenance.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, like I
But-
said, having a dog, like if we do happen to dispatch an officer to a call and we do like have to take a dog, having that tool, it has helped us in the past. It's actually helped us tremendously, so.
I'm just thinking of an officer sitting at the, book of pets going,
You digitize it. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
No, but there's,
it's a searchable database for keys.
we're back to is it worth what the effort of level?
Well, I think if we could find a database that was user-friendly, just, you know, we could research what other cities do, if they do anything like that, and the cost, because obviously we don't have a lot of extra money here to go spend.
Well, and to be fair,
Microsoft
It's-
Word, Control Find.
well,
type in.
but there's a public interest in helping dogs be returned to their owners, but that's not something we as a city need to get into business of. We as a city
Right.
have a responsibility for making sure that dogs are not gonna cause hazard or safety issues
Mhm.
for everybody else. That's kind of the extent of our,
It is, I think, my thing is that I do want this to include all domestic animals. So that we don't have feral cat colonies, we don't have puppy mills, you know, we don't have kennel situations or someone who lives in town with 10 dogs because their neighbors are probably about ready to come and court on them. You know, it's,
is that all captured in your notes, what you just said?
yeah. Because I mean, it's not a fun situation to live next to, you know.
Do you live
It-
next to one?
I did.
It-
Five
Well,
dogs,
and then
big
if
dogs.
I know
big
we're
dogs.
getting really close to done, but again, what about public nuisance and health or safety or just right to enjoy my property stuff that's infringed on by the hoarding neighbors? I mean, I'm just making, is there a similarity, is there not a similarity?
There is, but the difference is like, you could mandate that I mean, what are what are our recourse? We could, require them to completely fence their yard so you can't see it. To me, that would probably be, you know, because they're probably not gonna clean it up if they're in that hoarding situation,
Can you
the mental
raise the
illness.
HOA issues with that?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want the city to become an HOA, but I think that if it's bad enough, you could require them to put up a fence, or the city's gonna put up a fence, and then we're gonna put it on your taxes. Or, because I don't wanna get in, I mean, your recourse is to condemn the property, and that's a huge next step.
We don't.
And I don't wanna necessarily
I like
go
your
there.
idea of Well, and I just luckily chose the words, you know, their hoarding is outside. As long as they're hoarding inside, it's their business. It
Right.
doesn't impact us.
Right.
But if it's hoarding outside, it does, and I like your idea, suggestion. If there comes a point where you're required to build a fence and screen off your property, and if it is in an HOA that would say you can't build a fence like where your folks live,
Yeah.
they're also going to have stepped in and not allowed you to become a hoarding situation, because there is that's one of the advantages of being in an HOA as opposed to, you know, all the restrictions and get in the way of your liberties.
They're either really good or really bad. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well,
Depending on-
there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
You know, the ideal goal is the least amount of government intrusion without anarchy.
Mhm. It's like, I don't care what you do on your property, but I don't wanna hear it and I don't wanna look at it. How's that sound?
I don't wanna smell it, but.
I don't wanna smell
but I
it,
can.
so,
It's legal.
yeah. I mean, if it's that bad where it's outside your property where there's definitely some houses in town that have gotten to that point, or garages, got garage doors.
But I like your
Falling off.
idea. You can clean it, you can fence it, or we'll fence it and give you the bill.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that would be, I mean, I think that would be my choice.
It's an interesting idea.
How do your officers deal with the noise complaints? Because that's probably your number one,
Handle by call.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get those,
but repetitive.
oh, we file charges.
Is it successful in
Yeah,
getting it under control?
yeah,
We always heard stories of that if you're gonna go file noise, that you had to show up and say, here's my meter, and I've been trained in the last 30 days, and my meter is, or was that a previous chief's over dramatizing the actual prosecution?
well, if we're talking in terms of motor vehicles, yeah, my guys aren't gonna be running around with, what are they called? Decimeters. But I'm talking like house parties, disturbance calls, stuff like that.
Yeah, barking
We show-
dogs.
And we do have problem houses with that, with noise complaints and stuff like that. We'll show up, do a knock and talk. We handle that and then one of the things that we do revert back to is our city code regarding quiet hours, and I think we just had a discussion about this like a week or two, last week.
Yeah.
And then we go from there. And when you say noise complaint, the first thought that pops into my head is like a loud party call.
Right.
We send to.
Or barking
I'm
dogs
just thinking,
at
Barking
4 in the
dogs,
nothing more
morning
irritating to a neighbor than a dog that just barks.
and bark.
Right now, if it's less than 20 minutes, it's not violation.
Or unless it's during quiet hours, then
Yeah, but-
anytime.
It's one of those things too, when does the clock start?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At 20 minutes.
Are they barking at?
It's like when somebody tells me, it's like when somebody tells me that a car's been parked somewhere for 6 months and it ends up being 6 hours. It's like,
Yeah, you have to go mark
Right.
and check and identify yourself.
yeah, and it's,
We deviated, but I think
No,
all
I-
these things
it
are
all-
related.
It is,
Mhm.
and, I mean, I would, for future,
We talk about fences and, you know, blocking the visual and all that, but the noise is truly the largest issue that the city's gonna deal with.
yeah,
On a complaint basis is because there are a lot of barking dogs in town, for a variety of reasons.
and it seems to, well, the summer you notice it more, because you sleep with your windows open, nobody has air conditioning, it's just, yeah. And they let them out at 4 AM when the sun comes up.
this is like personal experience.
It is personal experience, it's like, I'm like, I really don't wanna get up yet.
It's, yeah.
Of course it is,
No,
that's rain. Supposed to rain.
Yeah, you're right. All right.
So, so for future agenda items, I think, do you want us to, I mean, hoarding situations are definitely public health and safety.
I think just kind of the nuisance stuff. Are we doing what we can
Okay,
that is the right balance to refer to Doug's,
yeah,
you know, is it,
because I've definitely had feedback from people that live next to those type of situations that wanna know why the city hadn't do anything about it. I'm like, well, we don't really have anything on the books other than public health and safety, and you prove it, it's public health and safety, and then you have to give them so long to clean it up, and if they don't, then you condemn the property. I mean, we need something less,
draconian?
yeah, less horrible, I guess, for people.
Right, and anyway.
Okay, so I will meet with I'll try to meet with the judge, separately, and maybe I can try to, incorporate, because I sent you all his, what he would like changes made to the domestic animal, not just dogs, but pets in general. And I also sent you, Dennison, and he also sent me, and I forwarded it on to everybody, the ordinances from a bunch of other cities, like Billings and like, you know, what they have. So it's not like we have to reinvent the wheel, but, you know, I think we do need to listen to the judge and the chief, because they're the ones on the front lines, you know, the officers are trying to enforce what we have, so. And then he's trying to, in the court, say, well, here's your ticket, here's your fine, so.
Mhm.
So, obviously, we want what we have to be enforceable, and
So to bite this down to a bite-sized something we can do something about,
I would love that.
we're gonna take the pet ordinance, right? We're gonna take what is currently a dog ordinance
Yep.
and make it a pet ordinance.
Yep,
Does that narrow enough for you, what you were trying
Yeah,
to get down to?
You know,
Yeah.
and combining dangerous and vicious, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
no brainer.
yeah, and most of it was just cleaning it up and making it,
But also, if you move to this town, isn't it your responsibility to know that your dog needs to be licensed?
It is.
So
It's pretty standard with municipalities.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Like my
So-
parents.
So I don't think we need to do anything with that.
It's in the have a city dog license, right?
Right, I just, you know, when they're due, it would be nice to, you know, put some blasts out there and, you know, share, like, I mean, I try to share the city's, you know, notices on Facebook and stuff, and I think,
Nothing wrong with that.
And we can do that when people come in and sign up for water and stuff, and do you
Yeah.
have a dog?
absolutely, it's just asking those extra questions, so.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's supposed to be an informational packet that is handed out with the written warnings and how the code is written now. Is there something?
I will find out, I don't know the answer to that.
Do you know, Chief, if there?
I know, sir.
Because there is something in the code saying if you have your, dog off leash or the, not picking up your dog due, you're, with that written warning that, and the first offense, you're supposed to get an informational packet. And so that's one of those, is it actually there, or
Yeah,
do we have something, or is that just something that
I-
they, when the ordinance was written, that they wanted to do but never did?
I think the city should invest in a bunch of, shop collars.
Well,
Those are pricey.
For the owners?
Yeah, yep.
But, and, you know, and then as part of that, when somebody comes in and signs up for water sewer, oh, here's this, just so you know, there is a dog ordinance, this is, you know, what the licensing requirements, here it is.
Yes,
You gotta wear the shock collar before you put it on your dog, though.
yes,
That's a
And we could include, and the chief gave the example of parking. Right now, you can't park for more than 5 days. When they get a call, this car's been here for 6 months, the first thing that they can do is they go chalk the tire.
yep.
And then 5 days later, they go by and they give them a warning and
Or
let
it's
them know.
winter and it's so buried in snow, they
But-
know it's been there for a
well,
while, it's
yeah,
different, you know?
But here's, so let me give you an example. Hi, I hate my neighbor, I'm gonna go park my car in front of their spot.
Yeah,
I know the rules. Every 3 days, I'm gonna go move my car back 12 feet. I'm gonna move it forward 6 feet. I'm gonna move it back 9 feet, forward 18 feet. If I do that every 4 days,
I'd say you're not a very nice person.
but we can't do anything about it from.
No, I know you can't, and that's a civil matter, not
I'm ashamed
a
to say
criminal.
that, I'm ashamed to say that is like an agent dispute calls that we deal with. We see that all
Oh,
the time.
I said, that's a real situation.
Yeah, maybe just try knocking on your neighbor's door and talking to them. If that's one good tidbit of information I can get out to the public, is if you have a problem with your neighbor, maybe try talking to him before you call the police.
We've done that problem where the next door neighbor parks in front of our rental, but if our renters try and park in front of his property,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a good situation.
No.
But he won't move his.
No, and I've seen those develop into
Chocolate chip
actual violence.
diplomacy is supposed to work in small towns.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, guys, I will
So, thank you.